The top stories tonight at Y News. The Department of Health records an increase in the reproduction rate in the National Capital Region, but the Octa Research Group says this is not because of the spread of the Omicron variant, COVID-19 variant.
The DOH will no longer publish its daily COVID-19 update starting January 2022.
The Commission on Elections is targeting to release the final list of candidates for the May 2022 polls early next month.
The number of fatalities due to Typhoon Odette has further increased to nearly 400 as the national government aims to release 6 billion pesos for typhoon victims.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. We are now reporting live from Quezon City. Today is Monday, December 27, 2021. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Herlene Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I'm Angelo Castro III.
First in the news, the Philippines has detected its fourth case of the American COVID-19 variant that has been sweeping across the world and driving surges of cases in several countries. Aiko Miguel reports.
Our fourth Omicron case is a 38-year-old female from the United States of America. She arrived in Manila on December 10, 2021 via PAL PR 127.
The fourth case of Omicron variant in the Philippines had an exposure from friends in USA whom they met before their flight to the Philippines. She had a negative pre-departure PCR swab test last December 7, 2021. But on December 13, she observed itchiness in her throat and had colds. She was tested on December 14, fifth day of her arrival, and turned out positive for COVID-19 last December 15 and was transferred into an isolation facility. According to DOH spokesperson Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, she was discharged last December 24. She is now asymptomatic and is scheduled to be retested tomorrow. The DOH is coordinating with the Bureau of Quarantine and Department of Transportation for the flight manifesto of the detected fourth Omicron case.
Rest assured na lahat naman po ng dumarating, kapag dumating po sila, for example, coming from US, a yellow country, they are all quarantined for 5 days, tested on the 5th day. Once negative, they are sent home, but they have to do home quarantine until the 14th day. So lahat naman po ay sumailalim dyan, pero kinukuha pa rin po natin yung manifest so that we can monitor, especially those close contacts of this individual.
Meanwhile, the DOH reminds all incoming travelers to observe all implemented safety, health, and travel protocols. This was after a report of an OFW who went straight home to Parañaque after arriving from the United States. A video went viral on social media as the Philippine Coast Guard and the LGU of Parañaque were searching for the said OFW.
Hopefully, this kind of incident will serve as a lesson for all of us, not just for national government, also for our kababayans na bumabalik dito sa ating bansa. Sana po yung pagmamalasakit natin sa sambayan ng Pilipino maipakita natin sa pagsunod natin doon sa mga protocols natin na ipinapatupad para hindi po kumalat ang sakit dito sa ating bansa.
The DOH reminds authorities to enforce border protocols to travelers to limit the entry of COVID-19 variants in the Philippines. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
There is an increase in the reproduction rate in the National Capital Region. However, Octa Research Group says this is not because of the spread of Omicron COVID-19 variant in the country. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The reproduction rate increase is only temporary and might be due to holiday surge, according to Octa Research Group. Dr. Guido David explains there is a similar surge during the holiday celebration last year because of the increase of social gathering.
Sa ngayon, hindi pa natin masasabi kung may factor yung Omicron, pero ang sinasabi lang natin ay base sa nakaraan na taon ay may nakita rin naman tayong holiday uptick.
from 0.44 reproduction number recorded last week, the chances of getting infected with COVID-19 in the National Capital Region slightly increased to 0.85 based on the monitoring of Okta Research Group. The average daily attack rate also increased to 0.82 and positivity rate went up by 1.4% this holiday season. Despite this, however, health experts believe it is still too early to say if the uptrend of COVID-19 cases should cause alarm.
Hindi naman maganda balita, pero we have to put it in context na sa ngayon, less than 1 pa rin naman yung reproduction number. Yun naman yung mahalaga eh. So, hindi pa naman talagang talagang pagtaas ng bilang ng kaso yung nakikita natin. Or what I mean is yung trending, hindi pa talagang solid na trending pataas.
Okta estimates more data is needed to show concrete evidence of a COVID-19 surge in the country. The effect during the holiday celebration might be seen during the January records. Health experts are also not recommending heightened restriction due to the slight increase of reproduction rate.
Tingin ko, medyo nagiging complacent ng konti yung mga kababayan natin, at yung sabi ng mga iba namin kasama na doctors na fellows ng Okta Research ay may mga bagong kaso na nakuha doon nila sa social gathering kaya sila nag-positive sa COVID. Kung ikukumpara natin last year, yung base number kasi last year mas mataas ngayon mababa eh. So kahit na may konti na tayong pagtaas, we're still at low risk.
The public is again reminded to follow minimum health standards and get vaccinated to prevent possible surge in 2022. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Health Department announced today they will no longer publish its daily COVID-19 update starting January 2022. Aiko Miguel explains why.
To streamline the Department of Health's public communication beginning January 1, 2022, all daily COVID-19 cases updates will be published via the website of the DOH. The daily COVID-19 case bulletin is issued at 4 p.m. via the DOH social media pages and Viber groups, containing updates on new cases of COVID-19 infections, active cases, deaths, recoveries, and testing rate.
Na hanggang sa December 31 na lang po ang araw-araw na paglabas ng case bulletin at ng COVID-19 situational report. Maaari pong bisitahin ang website sa inyong screen.
Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, however, did not offer any explanation for the move. To date, there are more than 650 case bulletins that the DOH has issued via their social media pages and Viber groups. Meanwhile, the DOH saw an uptick in the growth rate in National Capital Region. COVID-19 cases in the epicenter of the pandemic showed an increase of 38 cases, or 49% from December 20 to 26 compared to the previous week. Average daily cases in the region is now at 115. The DOH is monitoring the main drivers of the monitored uptick this holiday season.
So hopefully, it is not variant-driven. If we need to observe, no, nakikita ho natin na yung mobility natin ngayon ay mataas kumpara po sa mga previous weeks natin dahil nga po sa ating holiday season. So we are counting 2 weeks prior para makita natin. So ito pong pag-uptick ng mga kaso natin started off 2 weeks ago, no? Ito pong mga exposures na to. Tuloy-tuloy po tayo mag-comply sa minimum health protocols. Huwag po tayong pupunta sa matataong lugar para hindi magtuloy-tuloy ang pagtaas ng kaso.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines recorded 318 new cases of novel coronavirus disease or COVID-19, pushing the nationwide case count to 2,838,792. The DOH said that active cases stood at 9,579 or 0.3% of the total number of cases. Among this number, 3,644 were mild, 3,339 were moderate, 1,777 were severe, and 445 were asymptomatic, while 374 were in critical condition. The agency also reported 255 new recoveries, bringing the total tally to 2,778,002, or 97.9% of the total number, while 11 more have died, bringing the death toll to 51,211, or 1.80% of the total number of cases. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has topped 279,992,190, while deaths have surged to more than 5.4 million, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The U.S. is the worst-hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 52,283,331 and 816,610 respectively, according to the CSSE. In terms of infections, India follows in second place with 34,793,333 cases and 479,997 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes second with 618,732 fatalities.
As the government aims to begin the inoculation of children 5 to 11 years old, several parents are still reluctant to get their kids vaccinated. Janice Henta explains why.
Even if the emergency use authorization of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children 5 to 11 years is approved by the Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Health, the DOH clarified that its vaccination rollout has not yet begun. However, some parents are saying that they are still afraid to get their children vaccinated.
Meron po kasi silang pamahina yung pulmon, tapos may mga hika. Parang para sa akin, natatakot pa ako. Sa ngayon, mukhang hindi pa talaga. Oo, kasi hindi ko pa alam kung magiging safe talaga sila o baka mamaya mas mapahamak pa.
Hindi po. Kasi po nakakatakot po sa edad po nila, baka hindi po kayanin ng katawan. Kaya natatakot po talaga ako. Obserbahan ko po muna yung mauuna po sa edad po ng mga bata.
The Department of Health previously explained that some COVID-19 vaccines for children has a 90% efficacy rate, which will help prevent severe cases of COVID-19. The doses and concentration of the vaccine that will be given to children 5 to 11 years will also be lower. But even if there are parents who are still hesitant for their children to get vaccinated, some are already waiting for the schedule of the vaccination rollout.
Opo naman. Kasi po para sa kaligtasan din ng mga bata halimbawa may makasalamuhan na may sakit, hindi gano'n silang maapektuhan sa katawan, di ba? Madali silang gumaling yung nila kung sakasakali.
Kasi teacher din ako. So lagi akong na-expose sa iba't ibang tao. Kaya gusto ko din na safety din yung bata. At least safe din ako kasi nabakunaan ako. Tapos yung father niya nabakunahan na rin naman. So gusto ko sila din sana mabakunahan.
Para po sa protection din po ng nila, ng katawan. Kasi mahilig lumabas yung mga bata din. Kahit minsan di mo na monitor madalas. Ayun po. Tsaka mahilig sila yung socialization din sa mga kapwa bata.
The Health Department has said that it is targeting to vaccinate over 13 million in the said age group by January 2022. Janice Henta, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
More households are now restored of electricity following the lashing of Typhoon Odette in several regions in the country. Meanwhile, the reported number of fatalities due to the onslaught of Typhoon Odette has climbed to nearly 400. Arlene Delgado details this in the report.
The Department of Energy says the restoration efforts in ravaged areas is now improving with more households restored of power. The National Electrification Administration says over 1.9 million household connections in various electric cooperatives in the affected regions are now fully restored, while 2.1 million households are still up for restoration. The two electric cooperatives in Bohol are targeting to start restoring power by December 31.
The households and the customers that we are serving, na-reconnect na natin, umaabot na tayo ng 50%. We can also see a significant reach from the transmission facilities restoration
The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines reports that 85% of the affected transmission lines have been restored. Meanwhile, the Energy Department is set to review its energy resiliency policy in a bid to make the power sector more resilient in times of calamities. These include strengthening of infrastructure, including underground cabling in several areas, and improving its response procedures. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, reports 389 fatalities due to Typhoon Odette. 64 were reported missing, while over 1,000 were reported injured. Agricultural loss was pegged at 5.3 billion pesos, while damage to infrastructure was estimated at 16.7 billion pesos. 500,000 houses were damaged, incurring an estimated cost of 28.1 million pesos. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. The Duterte administration is set to release billion pesos worth of funds for the victims of Typhoon Odette in the provinces. Part of the fund would come from the 2022 national budget, which is up for the president's signature. Ross Boulevard reports.
The Duterte administration is set to release a total of 6 billion pesos amount of funds to aid the victims of Typhoon Odette, which battered several parts of Mindanao, Visayas, and Luzon. This before the year ends. The government has already released 1 billion pesos last Friday, another 1 billion pesos today, and the rest will be within the week.
Tapos maglalabas din kami bago matapos ang taon ng 4 na bilyon para ayuda para sa mga local government units na ipapahatid naman nila sa mga mamamayang naapektuhan ng bagyong Odette.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte may sign the 2022 national budget tomorrow, according to Budget Acting Secretary Kanda. She also believes only few line items may be vetoed by the chief executive.
If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be signed tomorrow afternoon.
Once the 2022 national budget is signed, the budget for response efforts to typhoon can be already utilized. 4 billion pesos will be taken from the 2022 budget as President Duterte promised to raise 10 billion pesos for Odette recovery efforts. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Several presidential aspirants continue to send assistance to Typhoon Odette victims. Nel Maribohok will give us the details live. Nel, go ahead.
Diego, presidential aspirant Senator Manny Pacquiao warned of a looming outbreak of waterborne and sanitation-related diseases in areas hit by Typhoon Odette because of the lack of sanitation and proper waste disposal. Pacquiao vowed to bring in portalets and water filtration systems to avert the problem. The senator said that he is now discussing details for the procurement of these portable toilet systems that use chemicals to treat human waste and turn them into harmless and odorless organic materials. Meanwhile, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno deployed members of the Manila Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, or MDRRMO, to Cebu City to help in clearing operations as well as provision of potable water to residents affected by Typhoon Odette. According to MDRRMO Director Arnel Angeles, water tanker was also mobilized to provide much-needed water to Cebu City residents. Vice President Leni Robredo thanked those who gave donations for typhoon victims. Robredo said she will return to hard-hit areas caused by Typhoon Odette.
Tuloy-tuloy yung ating relief operations ngayon. Meron tayong teams sa lahat ng halos lahat ng mga nasalanta ng bagyo. Nakaisang ikot na ako, hindi ko pa nauubos lahat, pero balak nating balikan yung mga lugar na sobrang nagrabe.
Thousands of gallons of water and thousands of filtration kits were sent to the typhoon-affected areas by Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos. Marcos noted that filtration kits are very vital since majority of the affected areas were having problem of getting clean water. The Marcos-Sara Duterte tandem pledged to continue with their relief efforts and assistance to affected families. Other presidential aspirants have no reported activities today. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Nel Maribohok, reporting live from San Mateo, Rizal.
The Commission on Elections could not release the final list of official candidates for the 2022 elections this month. Dante Almanto tells us why live. Yes, Dante.
Good evening, Herlin. Comelec spokesperson Director James Jimenez disclosed it took some time for the poll body to release the final list of candidates this December since the cases resolutions have not yet released. There are also cases with pending motions for reconsideration. The Comelec was earlier targeting December 15 to release the final list. Jimenez added it is expected to be out on January 7, 2022 instead.
Those persons are included simply because they have motions for reconsideration. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa tapos yung mga kaso nila, no? So we expect na matapos nila yung mga first week of January. Hopefully mailabas lahat ng decisions. We have until January 7 to actually finish everything, no? So that we won't be late for printing.
Notable aspirant with pending cases before the Comelec is Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., but Marcos still remains in the list until final judgment of his cases will be promulgated.
Just like a disqualification case, for example, where the issues are more complicated and probably take longer to resolve, well, hindi sila matatanggal, right? But they will be able to proceed because there would be nothing hindering their candidacy at that point.
Based on the updated tentative list of aspirants, Mayor Isko Moreno, Senators Manny Pacquiao, Ping Lacson, and VP Leni Robredo are still included. For Vice Presidential race, meanwhile, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, Senators Francis Pangilinan, Vicente Soto III, Doc Willie Ong, and Representative Lito Atienza are still in. Jimenez, however, also clarified there are still names that will be stricken off the final list when their respective cases would have finality. Meanwhile, Harleen, after the release of the final list of candidates, the poll body will proceed to the printing of names of the official candidates in the ballots in January 15, 2022. And that's our latest live from Quezon City. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Dante Amento, reporting live from Quezon City.
Heavy vehicles like container and cargo trucks will soon be barred from using Ross Boulevard. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why.
Heavy trucks plying Ross Boulevard may affect the repair of the drainage system that was damaged along the thoroughfare southbound in the area of Libertad, Pasay City. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority explains this as the Department of Public Works and Highways recommends the closure of the portion of Ross Boulevard.
Titingnan namin kung talagang totally isasarado ang southbound lane nitong Rojas Boulevard o baka pwedeng partial lamang. Ito yung pinag-uusapan pa dahil baka naman masacrifice ang integrity ng paggawa dahil umaalog at baka naman daw ay magsuffer ang kalidad ng paggawa nila.
Of course, we put premium sa safety. Kaya po kami nagsasuggest na isara ang Ross Boulevard southbound para sa safety.
The DPWH vows to promptly complete and even try to expedite the implementation of the project, which may take about 2 to 3 months. In the meantime, MMDA Chairman Benhar Abalos Jr. finds ways in avoiding severe congestion as about 53,000 vehicles, including trucks, ply Rojas Boulevard southbound each day. The agency is looking to utilize the barge system that has been pushed by the Department of Transportation in coordination with the Philippine Ports Authority in the last couple of years.
Ang konsepto po nito na imbis na yung mga container natin idadaan natin sa kalsada sa Ross Boulevard, isasakay na po sila sa barge simula dito sa MI City at dire-diretso na po sila sa Tansa. At doon na po sila kukunin ng mga truck na magdadala doon sa mga warehouse.
Ngayon, kailangan magkaroon tayo ng daan at dalawian para sa mga truck, container truck. Ang solusyon na yan ay binibigay, bahagi ng solusyon, yung tinatawag na barge terminal.
The International Container Terminal Services Incorporated, the company operating in the Manila port, also supports the initiatives of the government agencies.
We're in the business of moving containers, so we'll have to find a way, no? Challenging, of course, in the beginning, but we'll do our best to ramp that up as quickly as possible.
The MMDA has yet to confirm when the barge system may commence and explains that they still need to study and take necessary actions before they implement it. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Fruit prices in Metro Manila markets are increasing. JP Nunez explains why.
With the demand of fruits for the year-end celebration, fruit vendors are expecting an increase of prices to their supplies before December 31. In Divisoria and Balintawak, fruit boxes are now having price increase. According to several vendors, they expect a 50 peso to 200 peso increase on any fruit boxes they sell from this day before the year-end celebration.
Kagaya ng lunggan, sa ngayon 1.4, aabot na naman ng 1.6 yan. Yung grapes naman ng ganito, kahapon at saka kaninang binta namin 700, may 650. Ngayon yung huling dating namin na seedless, 850 na.
Retailing is also affected as some fruits are sold with additional 5 pesos or 10 pesos per piece or per kilo.
Mga ano lang naman, may 5 piso, 10 piso, ganun lang naman. Halimbawa sa ubas, sa per kilo, tataas siya ng 10. Yung mga ganyang apple, tataas 5 piso, ganun lang. Ito, tataas ko ng 10.
Fruit vendors see a gradual price increase until December 31.
Sa ngayon, na 27, tumaas na siya, pero inaasahan pa natin tataas pa siya ngayong darating na 28 o 29. Pero marami naman siyang dumarating na prutas ngayon. Pero talagang tumataas lang talaga pag ganitong petsa.
As of today, apple and pongkan are sold in Divisoria and Baclaran from 10 pesos to 35 pesos per piece, while pears costs 25 to 30 pesos per piece. Sangkis costs 25 pesos to 35 pesos. Lemon costs 25 per piece. And melon costs 60 pesos per piece. Kiat-kiat costs 50 to 60 pesos per pack. Grapes cost around 120 pesos to 300 pesos per kilo. Mangustin costs 160 per kilo. Lanzones are sold for 250 pesos per kilo. Longgan costs 180 per kilo, while pomelo costs 80 to 130 pesos per kilo. Even today, some consumers took the opportunity to buy fruits early since it still goes within their budget to also help vendors to recover from pandemic.
Kakagat ka po talaga kung magkano. Kasi pagkakataon naman nila yun, bigay na lang natin yung chance sa kanila. Siguro po, taas na talaga.
Lansones, ubas, halos lahat. Mataas, doblado. Peak season mag-New Year Kaya ganyan, pagbigyan na natin sila. After naman yan, mababa na yan.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
For the news abroad, a stressful holiday return was experienced by millions of people over the weekend as 2,200 flights were canceled on Sunday alone and is expected to continue throughout the week. Ruth Bahe tells us why live. Good evening, Ruth.
Good evening, Elsie. Several major airlines were forced to cancel flights due to air crew and ground staff falling ill or required to go into isolation after exposure to COVID-19 over the holidays. These include Lufthansa, Delta, United Airlines, British Airways, Alaska Airways, and several others. Flight cancellations have rippling effects worldwide and is expected to continue throughout the work week, according to flight tracker FlightAware. At least 735 flights are already facing cancellations today and 160 more on Tuesday. Coinciding with the holiday cheer, Omicron infections have risen sharply in many countries. The New York State's health department said it had recorded a startling fourfold increase in coronavirus hospital admissions for children under 18 since December 5, while France recorded more than 100,000 virus infections in a single day for the first time. 2 Chinese carriers are also facing thousands of flight cancellations from Europe as the Chinese city Xi'an battles COVID surge. Meanwhile, a White House official said that despite the mess at some airports, the U.S. is in a better place than in last winter holiday. Elsie?
Thank you, Ruth Bahe, reporting live from Vietnam. The government of New South Wales, Australia, is considering easing isolation restrictions for healthcare workers. Maeve and Doug will tell us why live. Yes, Maeve?
Elsie, under the proposed new measures, healthcare workers identified as close contacts would no longer have to isolate as the state battles staffing crisis in Sydney hospitals. More than 2,000 health staff were laid off across the state, while more and more cases are being recorded. In a statement to the press on Sunday, New South Wales Health Minister Brad Hazzard said they are considering whether it is viable to have staff come back, seeing as they would be equipped with full PPE. Mr. Hazzard further stated that everybody in the state at some point will contract the Omicron variant and implied that having staff back sooner would be the safer option than having no staff at all. With PCR testing sites still under immense pressure, New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet is urging people to get tested only if they are symptomatic or as advised by NSW Health. Elsie?
Thank you, Maeve and Dog, reporting live from Australia. For the first time in global history, the world's economy will soon exceed $100 trillion next year in 2022. Nerissa Dando will tell us the details live. Yes, Nerissa?
Good evening, Elsie. It was previously predicted by the Center for Economics Business Research, or CBR, that the world economy would hit the $100 trillion mark later in 2024. However, it is now coming 2 years earlier than expected, according to their World Economic League Table 2022 report. The CEBR predicted that for 2022, the United States would continue to be ranked as the #1 economy in the world, maintaining this position for at least 9 years until 2031. The United States will then be replaced by China that year. Contrary to what was predicted before, the economy of China will now take 2 years longer to overcome the economy of the United States, claiming the #1 spot. Meanwhile, a main issue which the report highlighted was the prevalence of inflation, and many economists like the U.S., which the deputy chairman of CEBR, Douglas McWilliams, stated the 6.8% inflation rate of the country. For the most part, the 2022 World Economic Table remains similar to this year's, with the US, China, Japan, Germany, the UK, France, India, Italy, Canada, and Korea in top 10 respectively. But India will surpass France in 2022, becoming the 6th highest ranking economy in the world. Elsie?
Nerissa, how are economies looking after being impacted by the pandemic?
Yes, Elsie. While the pandemic did have a really big impact on global economy, the CEBR have stated in the report that this year specifically, there was predicted a 5.5% growth and a 4.2% growth in expected in 2022. Elsie?
Thank you, Nerissa Danzo, live from Japan. NASA's $10 billion James Webb Telescope has left Earth on its mission to show the first stars to light up the universe. The observatory was lifted skyward by an Ariane rocket from the Kourou spaceport in French Guiana. It will take about 29 days for Webb to reach L2, nearly 1.6 million kilometers from Earth, and about 6 months before it will be ready to begin snapping images of the universe. Webb, named after one of the architects of the Apollo moon landings, is a successor to the Hubble telescope. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Jeremiah, chapter 9, verse 23, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches." And those are the reasons behind the news, December 27, 2021. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Jorgin Delgado.
Because we need to know. We will always ask why. I'm Angelo Castro III. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Na hanggang sa December 31 na lang po ang araw-araw na paglabas ng case bulletin at ng COVID-19 situational report. Maaari pong bisitahin ang website sa inyong screen.
Tapos maglalabas din kami bago matapos ang taon ng 4 na bilyon parang ayuda para sa mga local government units na ipapahatid naman nila sa mga mamamayang naapektuhan ng bagyong Odette.